Hello, fellow introverts, and welcome back to my channel, The Introvert's Haven. I'm Megan, and you will more than likely hear a whole bunch of rattling around in the background, and that is them. But they are playing. And for the record, they have been snoozing. They have been sleeping. They have been the most well-behaved little kitty cats all day long. But the minute that I whip this camera out, it's time to play. So if you hear craziness in the background, it is them. I am so excited today because I went book shopping and I got so many new books that I cannot wait to dive into. Some of them I already have dived into and read very quickly. So yeah, I went book shopping last week and got some book mail, and I have a whole bunch of books to talk about. And I'm so excited about it for a couple of reasons. Number one, everybody loves getting new books. But number two, today is my first day of vacation and I am ecstatic. I get to dive into these new books and I get to stay in my pajamas for the foreseeable future. Now, where am I going on vacation? Am I gonna go to a tropical destination? You know, my family, it's my fiance's family, so I guess by extension, my family is from Puerto Rico. So are we going to Puerto Rico? Are we going back to Florida to go visit? No, we are going to stay right here. And by we, I mean both of us. My fiance is not on vacation, but I am. So I am going to sit and rot in this house for 2 solid weeks. And I am going to do nothing but read and enjoy this massive box of Cheez-Its that I most certainly don't need. But I am so excited to be at home and to not have to go anywhere. It's storming out right now, which bonus, it is actually very peaceful when it storms out. However, not having to drive in it, not having to go anywhere, being able to sit back by the fireplace with a good book is probably like the best thing that I could ever imagine. So you are going to be hard pressed to get me out of this house for the next couple of weeks. You are going to have to pry my books out of my hands to get me to do anything or go anywhere. I just want to rot. That's all I want to do. I just want to rot, and that's all I intend to do. I intentionally did not make really any plans. Couldn't think of anything better. So without further ado, because I know you guys did not come here to listen to me be excited about vacation, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different books. I have broken all of these books up by genre, so if there's a certain genre you're not into, just skip to the next one. All right, stack number 1 is pretty little. Contemporaries. The first book is The Favorites by Lynn Fargo. People who loved Ice Princess as a kid will absolutely adore this book. I'll be honest, I already read it and I was absolutely obsessed with it. This book follows an ice dancing couple, Heath and Katerina. Katerina and Heath come from less than stellar backgrounds. There's a lot of financial issues, a lot of familial issues, and these two immerse themselves into the world of ice skating and decide that they want to go all the way to the top. They want to be gold medal Olympians, and they will stop at nothing to get there. And this book kind of follows their relationship as well as the progression of them getting all the way there. It is told from Katerina's perspective as well as a documentary that is being made. So it's interviewing some of their friends and some of their not so close friends and judges and everybody that kind of knew them during this time. It kind of gave Daisy Jones and the Six vibes a little bit. And so if you love that, you may also really, really love this book. But essentially, there was a shocking incident that happened when they did make it all the way to the Olympics. And that is not, you know, a spoiler. They're very open and honest with that from the very beginning of the book. And they talk about the shocking incident that happened and what led this couple from the very beginning of them knowing each other to some of their ups and downs to the Olympics, and then what happened after the Olympics. I could not recommend this book more. I could not put it down. It is long, and normally long books take me a hot minute to get through. How many pages is this? It is 434 pages, and I gobbled this up in a matter of a couple of days, I think. It was so good. Highly recommend. All right, up next we have The 3 Lives of Cate by Cate Fagan. That is a mouthful. Holy Lord. So this book is following a best-selling author by the name of Cate K. And Cate K is a pen name. We do not know who this woman actually is, but she is a best-selling author who ends up having a movie made about one of her novels. And it is instant success. She, it's wildly successful. However, Cate is not who she says she is. And in fact, she is on the run from something. We don't know what that is yet, but she meets with the actress that is going to be in her movie about her book and wants to kind of open up about who she's on the run from and what led her to that point. All right, romances. So the first romance I picked up is It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. I can't really say too much about what this book is about because it is the second book in, I think it's just a duology by her. But it began with It Ends With Us, and this was just recently made into a movie by Blake Lively. Now, there's a lot of drama that is going on with Blake Lively, and I forget the guy's name who plays alongside her, but her co-star who plays Ryle. And I'm not gonna lie, I watched the movie and I really liked it. I know I talked to some of my friends who read the book and they were like, oh yeah, I wasn't a super big fan. I really enjoyed it. I don't know. So I can't go into too much detail about It Starts With Us, but just know that it's the continuation from It Ends With Us, which follows a woman named Lily Bloom, and Lily wants to own her own floral shop, and she ends up falling in love with a man named Ryle, but then she's also kind of reacquainted with a past love, and she has to make some really tough decisions of like, oh, who are we picking here? But with certainly a different twist. Definitely check the trigger warnings on it, but I really enjoyed it, and so I decided to pick up the second book. Next up is The Breakup Tour by Emily Wibberley&Austin Siegemund-Broka. And this book is following a woman named Riley Wynn, and she is very passionate about music, and one of her songs tops the charts. Everybody is really obsessed with it. And her lovely ex-husband decides to say that this song was written about him. He comes out and tries to kind of take credit for this love song that she's written. In reality, it is not written about her ex-husband at all. It is about her college boyfriend, Max. And Max and Riley have not spoken since they broke up a few years ago. And they end up rekindling, and Max is currently running a retirement home that his family owns, but he also has a really big passion for music. And he agrees to say that the song is actually not about the ex-husband at all. It is about them. However, his one condition is that he is going to go back on tour with Riley and tour the country as a duo. Or I don't know if it's technically a duo. He's in the band, and they're going to go on tour together. And it's a second chance romance that I'm super, super excited about. Up next is mystery thrillers. So book number 1 is The Crash by Freida McFadden. It is her newest novel that just came out, and I am almost done with this one. I have gobbled this one up. But I gobble up, I think, every single Freida McFadden book that I've ever read. I have not read one book by this woman that I do not enjoy. So this book is following Tegan, and Tegan is 8 months pregnant, and Tegan's going through it. Financially, she's struggling, and she just learned a really hard truth about the father of her baby. As I said, she's 8 months pregnant, and she decides that she is going to go visit her brother, who is a ski instructor. On the way to go visit her brother, she gets into a horrible car accident, and things are feeling real bleak. She kind of has a little mental breakdown because she's worried she's not going to be rescued, and her and her baby are gonna freeze to death. When she is rescued by a couple who brings them back to their little cabin in Maine to get warm until the snow can clear and she can make her way to the hospital to make sure that her and her baby are okay. However, everybody kind of has their own motives, and this couple may not be as innocent and helpful and kind as they necessarily appear. Next is Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. This book is following, what is her name? I don't know if you pronounce her name Camilla or Camila. I personally like Camilla better. Camilla reminds me of the Queen of England, or like Queen Consort, I guess is the name of it. So I'm gonna go with Camilla. Is it correct? I don't know, but that's what I'm going with. So this book is following Camilla, and Camilla is a brand new mom. She's also a literary agent, and it is her first day going back to work off of maternity leave. When she wakes up for her first day back, she notices a note that's left by her husband, and it's described as being cryptic. And the next thing that Camilla knows, she hears that her husband is that there is a holy Lord. The next thing that Camilla knows is that there is a hostage situation. There we go. There's a hostage. You know what I'm saying. You know what I mean. There's a situation going on, and her husband is not just there. Her husband is the gunman. She also has these last words by him. And she is just kind of at a loss because she thought she had this loving husband, and now he's somehow this gunman that is causing harm to people. And this whole situation just makes her question the man that she loves and what their life was actually built on. All right, and the last mystery thriller is A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall. And this book is following this woman named Theodora. And Theodora and Connor are newly engaged, and he decides that he is going to take her to his family's, I don't know if like estate's the right word. It's basically like a winter retreat, and he wants her to kind of win over his relatives. He's from a very wealthy background. His family is honestly probably billionaires, and he wants to bring her to meet them and kind of woo them over. But once she gets there, she ends up finding some things that just aren't making a lot of sense. She finds a photo of herself as a child that was taken at this same estate, and she doesn't really understand how this is happening because she didn't know Connor. She didn't know this family, and she doesn't really know how she was here at one point. On top of all of that, she's also getting a whole bunch of threatening messages telling her that she needs to stay away from Connor. And not only is she getting these messages, but fragments of her memory are kind of starting to come back into place. And she has to wonder what the intentions truly were for her being here and being taken here to begin with. The next category is horror, and there's only one. I am not a huge horror person. I get spooked very easily, so we will see how this whole thing goes. I've never read a Grady Hendrix novel before, but I've heard that he's very well loved and people really, really like him, so we will see. So this book is following Fern, and this takes place back in 1970 at an unwed mother's home. Now, back in this time, it was a really big deal to be a pregnant teenager who, obviously is unwed. And you were kind of sent to these homes just to be taken care of quietly. You have your baby, you give the baby up for adoption, and then you pretend nothing ever happened and you go back to your life. But while Fern is there, she meets some other women who don't necessarily want to do that. They maybe want to keep their babies, maybe don't. But they basically have all of their autonomy stripped from them in a lot of ways. They are told what to eat, when to wake up, what to do every moment of the day in this unwed mother's home. And while there, Fern ends up meeting a librarian who gives her a book on the occult. And so for the first time, she is able, and these other girls, presumably, I'm assuming, are going to be able to have some power back into their lives. But power does come with a price, and since this is a horror novel, I am sure that there will be some kind of bloody consequence to wielding said power. And the last stack is the biggest stack, and it is historical fiction. And you can't see, but there's actually one more that I'm listening to on audiobook right now, and it is The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. Actually, a lot of these books are by Kristin Hannah. And the reason for that is because I just recently read The Women and was absolutely blown away by it and decided that I really, really liked her, so I wanted to get a whole bunch of her books. But we're not starting with Kristin Hannah. We will start with Isaac Song by Daniel Black. And this story is following a man named Isaac, and his father has just died. And it is impacting him in ways that he honestly never thought that it would. And so his therapist encourages him to write down his story, starting from the time he was a little boy, and see if by writing everything down, if it kind of changes his perspective on what his life has been like and why he might feel the way that he does, or maybe changes how he feels about certain things that happened altogether. So Isaac is growing up back in the 70s and 80s, and during this time, he's really struggling because he is just not what his father thought. His father is very much a man's man and wants him to play baseball and wants him to, be into boyish activities. And Isaac just isn't that way. He loves to sing and he loves to read and he loves the arts. And it's just kind of following his story of, eventually when he was young, being this boy that his father really just couldn't and wouldn't accept, to growing up, realizing that he's gay at the same time that the AIDS epidemic is hitting. And it's following not just that, but also he's a boy of color. And so it has really, really strong racial tones to it. And it breaks your heart. It's also a really quick read. Like, it's only a couple of 100 pages, but it was so, so good. And I could not recommend it more. I feel like Kristin Hannah books are some of those books that honestly are best to go into a little bit blind. But the first one that I have is an audiobook that I'm currently listening to on Audible, and it is The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. It is following two sisters, Vienne and Isabel, and they are two sisters who have wildly different ideas about how best to kind of survive and just exist through Nazi-occupied France, and they are wildly different. Isabel is very outspoken. She does not hold her tongue. She will tell you exactly what she's thinking when she's thinking it. And Isabel is one of those people who she is not going to sit down and just let the Nazis run amok in her country. She is not going to give in. She is going to fight. She is going to do whatever she can to derail them. And that is a very stark contrast to her sister Vienne. Vienne's husband is in the military and he is fighting for France. And she also has a little girl named Sophie, and Vienne's biggest concern is keeping Sophie safe. Of course, she wants to keep her sister safe as well, but really, she just wants to keep her head down and just survive this war. Just mind her business, kind of keep low, and that could not be any different from her sister. So they certainly butt heads. I don't want to give away too much because, like I said, Kristin Hannah books are some of those books where it's really best to kind of go in a little bit blind. But just the stark contrast between the two sisters and the way that they are handling this occupation is both beautiful in their own ways and heartbreaking. I have been told that this is a tearjerker, so I am prepared, but I have not gotten to, obviously war is sad, right? But I haven't gotten to the point where I'm grabbing for a box of tissues yet, but I'm prepared because I know that this woman certainly will get me there. I'm really, really excited about this one. This is The Four Winds by Kristin Hannah, and this takes place both in the 1920s and during the Great Depression. I'm personally really excited about this one just because my great-grandmother is actually still alive, and she is 103. And she lived during the Depression, and she very much so, I think, carries a lot of that trauma with her. She's still, and actually she carries a lot from World War II as well. She still hoards like sugar. Like she will go and buy bags and bags of sugar because she has said more than once that she will never be rationed again. And she can pinch pennies like nobody I have ever seen. Okay, this woman is all about it, and she's carried that with her whole life. So I've never read a story set during Depression times, but in a way, I think reading this might give me a different perspective as to why my great-grandmother acts the way that she sometimes does. So this story in particular, starts off in the 1920s, the Roaring 20s, and it's following a woman named Elsa. And Elsa is not real interested, from the sounds of it, in getting married. But back then, that was what you did. You settled down, you had a bunch of kids, and you know, that was what women had to look forward to. But Elsa, she's not really about it, and she ends up, I think they describe it as, she makes an impulsive choice that ruins her reputation. And so her only option is to get married to a man named Rafe. And flash forward, her and Rafe are married, and it is now the 1930s. And the Great Plains are absolutely devastated by droughts and by dust storms. As if that is not enough, there's also the Great Depression. And so Elsa ends up having to make a decision whether or not she should go out west to California for her family, or whether she should stay on the land that ultimately she really, really loves. The story, I think, about the struggles of marriage, the struggles of the times, the droughts, the Great Depression, motherhood. Kristin Hannah really can do no wrong. I have come to that conclusion, so I'm really excited to pick this one up. Last but not least, I have Firefly, Layne by Kristin Hannah. This book, I guess, is also a Netflix show or movie. I'm not sure. I've never heard of it, but my friend, when I was talking to one of my friends about it, she was telling me that she'd seen it and it was really, really good. But apparently there's some criticisms that it's not very much so like the book, which instant annoyance. I really like stories that follow the book, but that's just me. So this book takes place back in 1974, and it is following the friends Cate and Thule. Now, Cate is kind of at the bottom of the social food chain. She's not cool. She's not glamorous. She does have a loving family, but she's just not the it girl by any stretch of the imagination. I can relate. But then you follow Thule, and Thule moves in next door to Cate, and they strike up a very close friendship. And this friendship spans, I think it says 30 years. Now, Thule seems to have it all. She is glamorous. She's the cool kid. She's smart. She has it all going for her, right? And the two strike up a very, very close bond. And the two stay close for the next 30 years until there's some kind of unexpected betrayal. And that betrayal is what ultimately tears the two apart. I love friendship stories. I love kind of the polar opposite of the cool girl versus the uncool girl. So I'm really, really excited for this one. All right, and that is all of the books that I have to talk about. I am so excited to be on vacation. Oh my Lord. I am so excited to sit down and dig into these books and ignore the world and emerge, quite literally, only for some snacks, maybe some water. Should be a little healthy here. And just hole up for the next couple of weeks and do a little mental break from all of the things that are going on in life right now. And I hope that you guys are able to do the same and find at least one or maybe two books from this list that interest you. I will eventually do like a winter reading recap of everything that I've read. Some of these books are definitely going to be on it. I doubt that I will get to all of them, but I will definitely talk about the ones that I do get to and my opinions and my thoughts on them. Like I said, some of them you kind of already know if I like them or not, along with other books that I will also be reading that are backlist, because I am a wicked mood reader and I don't like to sit and just go through a stack of books. I like to pick from my backlist. I like to read some of the new ones. I am how I am. But thank you so much for joining, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.